He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. Lord, remind me how brief my time on earth will be. Remind me that my days are numbered, how fleeting my life is. You have made my life no longer than the width of my hand. My entire lifetime is just a moment to you, at best. Each of us is but a breath. We are merely moving shadows, and all our busy rushing ends in nothing. We heap up wealth, not knowing who will spend it. And so, Lord, where do I put my hope? My only hope is in you. Good afternoon. This is Wolf Folkerts with Refuge at the First United Methodist Church. Today is April 1st, 2020. It's a beautiful day outside, lots of sunshine. Hopefully you get outside a little bit and enjoy that warm weather. Hope this video finds you well and your sanity is still intact. And so for today's lesson, the idea kind of came to me about a week ago. I was outside playing with my daughter Eleanor, and we were playing with bubbles. And as I was playing with the bubbles with Eleanor, I was making these really big ones, as you kind of saw in the intro. And just seeing the expression on her face kind of brought back some of my own memories when I was a kid with bubbles. And I'm just wondering if maybe some of those memories are intact for you guys as well. And so kind of bear with me today again. I'm trying a different recording device today. I'm using my phone instead of my computer. And so my computer actually has my notes on it, so I'll be scrolling a little bit to be able to see that. So here we go. Today's lesson is called Beautiful Bubble. A bubble is the perfect representation of how precious life is. With childlike wonder, bubbles capture our attention very young, a moment in which, at least for me, we carry for years to come. Even at almost 30 years old, seeing a bubble carelessly floating by sparks a recollection of ingrained joy, like that joy is just there. And it can't really be explained other than you see it float by, and it kind of brings a smile to your face. Very deep at times, that joy may be hidden, but always resurfaces the moment that soapy sphere flies near. Speaking of a distant memory, my mother often reminds me of a summer in Melrose, Iowa. Not much older than my oldest daughter now, it's about 3. I was wearing the most fashionable early 90s garb, okay? I would run up and down my grandparents' hill, bubble wand in hand, and making the magic fly. Her favorite part of the story, and she would tell me this often, she still does, is when I would run back to her, my wand empty, proclaiming, "Need more bubbles, Mom, need more bubbles." And for some reason I had a rough, gravelly voice when I was a kid, and so she would always make it really gravelly when she would tell me. I imagine my ingrained joy probably started sometime around then. Now, 25 years later, seeing that same joy, that same beauty arise in my own daughter as she runs giggling after the bubbles in our yard, that brings me joy. And like I said before, a bubble is that perfect representation of how precious life is. From its beginning, its creation, new to the world, it sparkles and glistens in the sun. So beautiful and full of wonder. As it matures, it begins to find its place, its direction as the wind pushes it this way and that way, lifting it higher and lower and leading it through life. With the beginning, though, there must be an end. Ever fleeting, the bubble, as soon as it was here, pops in the distance. There one moment, beauty still intact, and gone the next. And it really got me thinking as I was watching these bubbles fly off in the distance. Such is the same as life. I remember talking with my grandfather one time. It's one of my favorite memories with him. Asking him about his life, his memories. I will never forget his words. As he looked back, he told me, he said, "Will, don't blink. 80 years happened in a flash. Love every moment and live every minute." I sat there just pondering those words of wisdom for a moment. And how true are those words, especially now? Many of the things we have taken for granted for so long now unable to do, for the time being anyways. Going out to eat with friends, hugging your mother or father, watching a movie at the theater, congregating at church, traveling. For me personally, teaching in my classroom, seeing my students every single day. I really miss that. And before, these were just fleeting moments, passing by without a second thought, without a second glance. And as my grandfather said some time ago, love every moment. Still makes me think, it still echoes in my mind. Even now, as many of us are isolated, many of us have distanced ourselves from others. Remember though, life is still that beautiful glistening bubble, that iridescent sparkle fluttering in the direction of the wind. Life is still fleeting. I no longer practice social distancing out of fear. I practice it out of love. Love for my children, for my wife, my family, neighbors, community, my state, and my country. Love has not disappeared. It has not vanished. For some right now, it just has to be done at a distance. It's easy to feel like you're completely alone, but just remember you're not. You're not alone. And this is one of my favorite Bible verses. It's called "The Way of Love," is spoken from 1 Corinthians 13. It says, "If we speak with human eloquence and angelic ecstasy, but don't love, I'm nothing but the creaking of a rusty gate. If I speak God's word with power, revealing all of his mysteries and making everything as plain as day, but don't love, I am nothing. If I have faith to say to a mountain, jump, and it jumps, but I don't love, I am nothing. If I give everything I own to the poor and even go to the stake to be burned as a martyr, but I don't love, I've gotten nowhere. So no matter what I say, what I believe, and what I do, I am bankrupt without love. We don't yet see things clearly. We're squinting in a fog, peering through a mist, but it won't be long before the weather clears and that sun shines bright. We'll see it all then. We'll see it as clearly as God sees us, knowing him directly and just as he knows us. So back to that idea of a bubble. Our lives are so fleeting, are so short. And I don't say that as a depressing conclusion. I say that because knowing that life is short makes something like a bubble beautiful, something like a hug lasting, something like a conversation with your grandfather memorable, something like love forever, and something like an experience once in a lifetime. So I challenge you this week, okay, to make a bubble. It's pretty easy. You take some soap, you take some water, just a little bit of water, and take a little soap, put it in your hands here, kind of rub them together, get it a little bit wet, see if this works, I don't know. Okay, make some suds, kind of clasp your hands together, and just kind of give it a slight breath. It kind of brings some joy right there, even as I kind of saw that. And if anything, at least you wash your hands for one of the 87,000 times you do today. So make a bubble. Remember that joy that might have started when you were a kid, when you were a child. That childlike joy that never leaves. See that bubble and remember that life is precious. We're only here for a moment, for that one breath to God. Okay? So I want to leave you today with this Bible verse from Romans 12:12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. I tell myself often, find joy. Especially when I'm having a bad day, I say, find the joy, find the joy. So I tell you, find that joy and be the joy you wish to see in the world. Be a beautiful bubble. Have a great week.